Greetings and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. All is truly indeed a blessing. If you can just see beyond the veils. Welcome, welcome, one and all. Come on in this glorious Monday. Greetings, Aunt Mary's niece, aka Emma's daughter. I most certainly appreciate you and am humbled and honored and appreciative by your showing up here with me early on Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Alapia, Peleo, Aquaba, Babwani, Yahuwaku. Welcome, welcome, Habargani, to another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Eshu Alegwana, Kosi Wari, Awo Unlo Utu, Ne Iwo, Ada Afan Bo Osi, Obatala Mi Ita Ne Abo, Anilio Abani Shu. Eshu is the respected elder who flogs, confronts, and uncovers fools. That one versed in mysteries uses truth to own you. He causes scattered to feed poverty. Obatala shakes rascals to have sacrifice. The owner of warnings is the one who is Eshu. Aboru, Aboye, Aboshishe, Ashe. May I ever reach a rune. May I ever be accepted. May I ever allow what we desire to come to pass. And so we say, Ashe. Divine, all blessed peace and love, joy and prosperity, elevation and manifestation. We are indeed sitting now live again with the DivinePrince, Pan-African Spiritualist, Practitioner, author and advisor, Elagun Oloye Hoodoo Obeya Bokur, sharing with you in all things spiritual, mystical, metaphysical, cosmic, evolutionary, revolutionary, healing, and holistic from a Pan-African Hoodoo world spiritualist perspective. Understand that all is truly and indeed a blessing. If you can just see beyond the veils, for it is all just an illusion and a test and one of the greatest divine mysteries of this life cycle. This is indeed my constant prayer, my mantra, affirmation, reverberation, reiteration, and it is my ever-living reality. All is a blessing is crucial to the very foundation of my inner standing, my being, my walk, my work, my demonstration along this divine, all blessed life path and journey. And it is indeed where I begin, where I crystallize and realize all my endeavors, understanding that I and I alone create and co-create my divine destiny. And I alone create and co-create my divine all blessed reality. And so it is. Ashe. I'm always humbled and appreciative of those who come here, who've been coming here from 2008. I'm indeed grateful. You have been a part of my journey. You have witnessed my growth and my walk. First on mic, blogtalkradio.com /the-divine-prince. And sometime much before the pandemic began, here in this StreamYard YouTube live format. So I'm indeed always, always, always humbled, honored, appreciative for this space. And some of you say, well, you say that every show. Indeed, I say it every show because it's my truth and it is my reality. You've heard me say I don't come here to entertain. I don't come here to people please. I came here to stand in truth and in authenticity and in divine all blessed peace and serenity. Today, this Monday, August 16th, 2021, it's a whole lot going on in the world. I don't need to enumerate it for you. Many of you watch the news, and then there are other of you who avoid the news. So I indeed will not enumerate it for you. in this present moment. But understand that I come emanating and vibrating with you live, virtually, verbally, cosmically, quantum, universally from this working temple of the House of the Divine Prince. Tide Potions, my product line, Hoodoo Central, LLC, my ministry, in this beloved, historic, legendary, most enchanted, and some would say most haunted city in America, New Orleans, Louisiana, the land of my ancestors, my blood ancestors, my relatives, and those who came before me along this hoodoo, Aout, life path and journey, passing down the great obeah stick, along with the knowledge of the life-giving herbs, roots, plants, rituals, spirits, and indeed the minerals. And as beloved Denise Augustine says, our sacred stories. Indeed, our sacred stories. Creating sacred space is critical to all that we do, think, manifest, ask for. And indeed, it is critical to our ultimate demonstration in the world. And as a kid, my long-term listeners, you've heard my story. As a child on the street, at 14, at 15, at 16, at 17, at 18, at 19, trying to find my way in the world, absorbing every elder I came in contact with, absorbing all the culture and tradition I could locate in America. For indeed, some of you who know me know I moved every 90 days. I was in another state, another city, another town, another location, another experience. So the opportunity to confront my shadow work happened much earlier for me than for many within even the dynamics of my circle. Many of you have given your life for marriage, for children, for partnerships, for relationships. I had a deep conversation with a relative, I won't say which one, no one in this room, but they watched the show, so I won't say which one, about loving relationships, their attitude to loving relationships, their attitudes about marriage, their attitudes about divorce, their attitudes about their relationship to themselves and to the world. And one of the things this non-named relative suggested was that they had given up themselves. And it was only now in this present moment that they could see that and experience that. And they felt like they were having a bit of a second childhood, even in their 30 somethings. I heard my mother say something very similar to that. You all know my mother, Evangelist Savage, 78 years old, will be 79 in December, having a bit of a second childhood, a second opportunity to grow and to develop and to evolve and to enjoy life and experience life on life's terms in joy and in gratitude. I hear Iana Van Zandt use those words a lot: joy, gratitude, peace, serenity. And coming from the street, but even earlier on, my first demon, my first devil was my dad. I first met the devil through my dad. I first met Satan through my dad. I first met hell through my dad. So again, I know some people don't understand, how do you take joy in your trauma? I take joy in the lessons that turned into gold nuggets that I was able to excavate, indeed, from my traumas. And so I'm a highly fine-tuned empath about triggers and emotions and shadow work. Ask my mama, ask my sister Wapani, ask my cousin Yvette, ask my sister White, Tony Martinez, ask ask Tessie, my sister Tessie Jackson. Been this way my entire life, been this way since childhood. Like Maya Angelou, through trauma, I'm very gauged with my words. Very gauged with my words. I don't respond emotionally. Part of that is Asperger's syndrome, but another part of that is coming out of a childhood trauma. I'm able to suspend myself three-dimensionally, not three-dimensionally, third person, and look at me and you. Look at the environment and the scenario. Look at the terms of life and living life indeed on life's terms. And so I'm very gauged with my words. My godchildren will tell you that. My clients will tell you that. Anyone who's ever had a conversation with me on the phone will tell you that. I'm very gauged with my words, very gauged with my words. However, we cannot dictate anyone's experience. I cannot dictate your experience any more than you can mine. And I learned that in the years when I was in my depression, when I was in my pain, when I was in my turmoil. For those of you who don't know, this Wellness Monday, we check in on Monday. This is the wellness check for Monday, and I'm going to start the conversation off. And so the opportunity to be at the crossroads in the illusion is the key word for me. My godchildren are familiar with that word. The illusion of an issue, a block, a complication, because it's often an illusion. It's an opportunity for growth for me, for evolution, for change, for self-reflection. So I do that daily. I'd like to say I do it within the moment. I'd like to say I do it within the moment. Often I'm put in a position to have to do it within the moment. In the dynamics of a call, a consultation, a reading, it's real easy for people to get into their feelings. It's real easy for people to, by way of my gentle guidance, start asking themselves questions internally without voicing them that hit triggers in their emotional palette. And I'm often asked, man, how do you do that? What is that? How do you manage that? Even by well-trained and ingrained ministers, even by well-educated practitioners, even by well-educated healers. And I say it's a product of my trauma. It's a product of my experience and that of my sister, that of my mother, and my ability to be empathic in the moment. And your brain, somewhat like a computer, has to, file through memories and experiences. We all do this. All of our brains do this, of what we've heard, what we've seen, where we've been before. But your brain does that in a matter of, infinite microseconds. I don't know. And then we have to make a choice. We do that on our jobs, some of us. You have to choose your words as you speak in the dynamics of your workplace, within the dynamics of your protocols, and there's a degree of discipline and maturity that comes from that. But more importantly, understanding one's own shadow work, understanding one's own triggers, understanding one's own journey. So I'm very careful about what I say, how I express it. I often go back and view a show, a broadcast, a podcast 3-4 times. I get a whole lot of feedback, because mama's listening and sisters listening and first cousins and second cousins is listening and godchildren are listening and frenemies, who are now fans are listening. I'm given the opportunity to see myself in my environment, through the mirror. And that's a critical component to doing shadow work. It's a critical component because indeed, in doing the shadow work, you are God. Doesn't matter what mom says, the pastor say, the therapist say, the doctor say, the psychic reader say. In that moment, you're God. You're goddess. You determine rationale, if you're rational, at any given moment. You have to determine whether your needle is flexing, because you have to be God of self first. First. So, I learned a long time ago, doing the right thing, or being quote unquote righteous, or playing by the rules, or being on the path, or being consciousness, none of that, none of that erases the events, the opportunities for the illusion of an issue of lack or complication. I would dare say even more so when your eyes open up, when your consciousness opens up, when your third eye opens up. Indeed, the opportunity for the illusion of an issue, a block, a complication only increases, only intensifies. We talked a month or so back about why Iyanla is giving up doing Fix My Life. Forgive me if you're hearing that for the first time and you like the show. It won't be no more Fix My Life. And Iyanla, in her own words, got into detail about why. And you can YouTube that. I don't have to repeat it for you. Just YouTube Iyanla Vanzant, why she's quitting Fix My Life. It'll jump right up in YouTube. And one of her main concerns was the amount of criticism and negative commentary and back talk she was getting from within our community, the Black community, our community. And it shows how we are still intensely divided around religion and culture, philosophy, and belief in our community. And we should really be focusing on nation building, growth, healing, it, great developing a greater sense of independence for the mother, the father, the child, the individual, the community. And how do we do that? Ways in which we go about that. Sometimes we can over focus on the issue of the block, the illusion of the issue, the block, the complication, and not really see opportunities, to really empower, self-empower. DP, yeah, now fans. Listen, I figured out, and some of my community here helped me to figure it out. Hola, mama. Greetings, Queen Mother. Welcome to the room. Some of my community helped me to figure out that they're your biggest fans. They see every move you make. They listen to every word, every syllable, every vowel, every consonant. Um, they checking how much hair I have on my face, how much hair I don't have on my face. They check everything, and they keep people's interest coming in the show. I might be talking too much. I'm giving y'all secrets to social media. It's a reason why some of these people keep up the drama that irritates you, the foolishness that irritates you, because there's a high concentration rate within certain communities in the Western world for that kind of energy. I said it, I think, on the last show. It'll be real easy for us to descend into a free-for-all on a show formatted around spirituality and religion, culture, race, ethnicity. And I'm sure many of us, if not all of us, have seen that in podcasts and blogcasts and other, platforms. And my audience continues to say they don't want that. They don't need that. That's not why they come here. That's not what they're looking for. So my numbers continue to be consistent and grow gradually, with those who, know what I'm talking about, know where I'm coming from, feel my vibe. They get it. They stay. Many have joined the House of the DivinePrince. I probably don't talk about that enough. Not just individuals, but whole families coming into House of the DivinePrince, doing ancestral work, doing head work, working with Loa and spirit, and learning the history of who we are and passing that on to the next generation, passing that on to those indeed who will follow us, who will come after us. the battle for not just Congo Square, but for the park, Armstrong Park and Treme continues. And indeed, we will be in City Hall again this week. We are working still with Christian Palmer to get some resolutions moved forward, but we would also like to see that legitimized, ink, pen, paper. Yeah, we would like to see, some kind of emotion created, to ensure that our wants, needs, desires of not just SOS, but the coalition of community that we represent, that their needs, desires, and wants and reflections are represented. So we continue to invite you to make sure, if you haven't done so, sign the petition, get everyone that you know who cares about New Orleans, who cares about Treme, who cares about Congo Square, who cares about culture and tradition and history and sacred ground. Make sure that they are signing the petition. There's also the link for the survey where you can suggest, in your opinion, in your creative mind, what you would want to see manifest in the municipal auditorium. We also shared the new email address for SOS. So we want to be sure that you all have that. Forgive me for hesitating right now. I'm actually trying to copy and paste that for your convenience again into the chat here. And so we've got to pick and choose our battles. We have to pick and choose. Now I know that's kind of broke up. It seems to be complete in Facebook. It's in two parts in YouTube. Electro Vibes. So kind of bear with me and scroll through the what I popped into the chat. The part that starts Morris FX Jeff Senior Municipal Auditorium contains a survey link. The new Our Sacred Stories Coalition email is broke up, but Treme SOS 2001 at gmail.com is how you may communicate and reach us. And the first portion, 66 days, we're counting down the 90 days. For those of you who are unfamiliar, the mayor basically gave us what she believed was going to be an impossible task and timeline of 90 days to come up with a plan and funding to go along with the plan. And today is day 66. Tomorrow will be day 65. And so we indeed are asking for your support, your contributions, your donations. We also have a website, but I'm not sure that it's actually live yet. So give me a minute on giving you the new SOS Coalition website. But the SOS Coalition is indeed the face of the community, is indeed the face of those who have the most investment and concern in Congo Square. We indeed are the face of the community for city government. And so we appreciate your continued love and support and participation and ire and angst and social media posts, always remembering to tag Mayor Cantrell, always remembering to tag city council members here in New Orleans, always remembering to tag our beautiful city of New Orleans to ensure that the figureheads that push the buttons and move the levers are aware that we're more than just a virtual presence. We're more than just a digital presence. We're more than just me or a dozen or so other people or 30 or more other people. We are indeed over 30 organizations and individuals that make up this coalition that represent various segments of the city, geographic segments of the city, but also cultural, historical interests in the city, residents who live here, who care, who would be directly most affected by any governmental development, on sacred ground. So we appreciate your continued love and support, and participation in all that we're doing and moving forward. So thank you kindly. Thank you kindly for your attention. Thank you for not, getting bored when I start talking about that. Most of y'all don't even drop. Y'all don't leave. So I know that you care, and that means more to us than you know. Please know that SOS sees these podcasts. Please know that the mayor sees these podcasts. Please know that the city sees these podcasts. I'm one of the few people in the city that has been doing a podcast of this type for such a long duration. Um, I get somewhere over 50,000 in internet activities. I'll put it that way: internet activities online a month, based on us and what we share and what we talk about and what we teach in this space. There are New Orleans who were forced out with Hurricane Katrina, who have never returned, whose connection back to the city is through us and our information and our posts and our sharing of social events and political events and happenings here in town. And I don't take the job lightly. I don't take the responsibility lightly. I take it with a great deal of seriousness to the stewardship of what I've been given to do here in this space. So I'm grateful for you all's love and support and participation. Greetings from France. And indeed, we have friends and family in France. Uh, Denise Augustine travels to France at least twice a year. Sometimes she might stay gone a month or something. So greetings for my French listenership. I certainly appreciate my international audience for your participation. And please feel and know and understand that just because you live out of state or out of city or out of the nation, that you don't have a part to play in this. You most certainly can share your voice, share your ideas, share your commentary. Use your digital media and be an active participant in this endeavor. We are grateful, and we most certainly do appreciate it. But in all things, I move in a degree of humility that stems from my own past, my own trauma. And we have to learn to be empathetic to each other. The idea that it's entertaining to have someone just really call us Sambos and coons and, niggas and, other slanderous words, and that somehow hypes their show, and that somehow gains them popularity and notoriety. I would like to believe we are moving away from that sort of Jerry Springer entertainment. And no disrespect to Jerry Springer, he had his place in pop culture, but that's sort of what that mirrors to me. It's not about healing, fixing, repairing, removing, building and rebuilding, so that we not only have something to stand on and hold ourselves up now in the midst of this pandemic, in the belly of this pandemic, but as we move forward into 2022, 2023, who knows indeed what's coming. And so my phone is ringing, my emails, are just, my computer should be smoking from the amount of email communications I'm receiving. People are still, unfortunately, showing up unannounced without an appointment. It's 12:30. I'm leaving town in an hour. Can I come see you? No, 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 no. Okay, no, no to the no, no, no. Aren't you all paying attention? Pay attention to Miss Teedy. Pay attention to the governor of Louisiana. We are the hot spot for the COVID Delta variant internationally. Internationally. So no, you can't just show up at my door and look into my camera with no mask on. No to the no, no, no. I need to know you're coming. I need to know you're prepared. There are certainly ritual items that you need to bring with you. There is no such thing as just a reading, just a divination in the season of COVID and you're coming to the house of DivinePrince. It's a whole ceremony that's going to happen. Ask the goddess, is she here? It's a whole breakdown that's going to happen. So I need you to be prepared. I need you to be present, you know, and for my practitioners and students and initiates of Ifa, of Akan, of Sangomas, and the like, you already know what's happening. But for my visitors and tourists and people who just kind of want a reading but don't know a whole lot about voodoo, you've got to send me some kind of communications and get a heads up of the protocols and what's to be expected in coming into an authentic voodoo house before the pandemic, but most certainly now during the pandemic. Surprisingly, not a whole lot is closed. Bars and restaurants indeed are open, you know, museums and whatnot and the like, and stores and shopping is indeed open, but you should be masked. I like to say double masked, whether you have the vaccine or not. You should be double masked. And in my opinion, you should be vaccinated. Now, this whole vaccine thing is becoming political. Well, it's not becoming, it was politicized during the course of the last 5 years. So for me, it's common sense as to why we're facing this. It's common sense as to why, you know, we're getting sort of this kind of response from people within all communities. It's not bounded by race or creed or economics, you know, especially when social media gets involved. Now clicks and likes are involved. Now hearts and check marks are involved, and popularity of the video, irregardless of the foundational factual truths within the video. So I know how controversial, you know, to vax or not to vax indeed is. But as a public servant, I'm just letting y'all know. They, you know, they got a big blue and white sign. It's all over town. It's on my Instagram, instagram.com/DivinePrince Thai Emeka. Visit my Instagram. Visit my Twitter, twitter.com/the Divine Prince. Check it out. It should be everywhere, so I'm sure it's easier to find than just going directly to my page. Bars, restaurants, certain buildings, for sure you have to be masked up going into all buildings. If you don't live there, you have to be indeed masked up. But now they're asking you to carry your card. Now they want to see your vaccination card. Okay? So don't come to New Orleans unprepared, please, please. And many events, you know, Voodoo Fest, Jazz Fest, French Quarter Fest, White Dress Run, all of that has been canceled. All the major events you can imagine between now and Christmas. I think between now and New Year's. I don't remember hearing about New Year's Eve, but as late as November have been canceled. So you need to do your homework, whether you're coming to see me or you're coming to see the city. Do your homework, and please play by the rules. It's a camera everywhere now. Everybody's got a camera. Everybody's got a device. There's cameras everywhere. People acting a fool in the airports. People acting a fool in hotels across America, in grocery stores across America, in airports and planes across America. Come on now. And certainly House of the Divine Prince has their own protocol as it relates to the pandemic. And so if you want access to it and you're coming, send an email, let me know you're coming. I will send a copy and paste response, so it's not personal. It feels personal, it sounds personal. Grammarly says I write in a very personal way, but it's copy and paste. Everybody gets the exact same response. So don't think just because you showed up in town last minute that I sent you something magic out of the air, you know, just because it's you. No. And it's been that way for well over, are y'all losing track of time with this pandemic? Has it been 2 years? Well over 2 years. since before the pandemic, I've had protocols in place. So I would appreciate you all, acknowledging that. I certainly would. Yeah, Jerry Springer to me, like many pop cultural events, you had that one hand of people who don't like it. The church folks absolutely came out against Jerry Springer. Many organizations came out against it, but it was most certainly a mirror of America and aspects of America that had otherwise been only rumored about, uh, whispered about, but now it was brought out in an open format for all of us to see. And it transcended racial boundaries that made people uncomfortable because people felt really good thinking the worst of Black people, the worst of Hispanics, the worst of gays, and then Jerry Springer just took the lid off of, white America, trailer park America, suburban America. I mean, just, took the lid off that really created the environment for the reality TV that we now love, loathe, support, hate, don't watch, whatever your your vote is on reality TV. Donisha, your name does not look familiar. So, and I'm sure your name don't match your email. So make sure you got that in. Did I respond? I hope so, so that you're clear on what my protocols is. But I'm certain what my protocols are. But I'm certainly appreciative of you and the many others who continue to support during this pandemic. Many of you have found the time and the space and sort of a new mind to go into ancestry, DNA, doing ancestral work, doing work on your heads, your individual head, and self empowerment. Um, but also those who are legitimately initiating, into Louisiana Voodoo and particularly into my house. I'm grateful. My community indeed is grateful, and all the community that sort of create the interwoven materials of the basket that is House of the Divine Prince. And that includes my family and my blood relatives and my cousins, Otan and Oloye and my mom, Evangelist Savage and Wapani and Lakeisha Mims and my friends and all those who continue to support, both on air and off air. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful. I say all the time, you can't operate in ATR in isolation. It's no such thing. It's not village mentality. It's no such thing. There have to be elders in place. There have to be young people in place. There have to be babies, being born and marriages taking place and families, developing and individuals becoming empowered. And that requires many hands, many great mothers and great fathers, many great sisters and great brothers to make that happen. It's never one person, one thing, one event, one moment in time, one illusion of an issue, block, a complication. So I keep moving forward. I keep pushing through. I keep building, and I keep bouncing back. And so for that, I'm grateful. So Denisha Harris, please make sure, beloved, that I indeed not only received your email, but responded, and then you got it and understood. And all will be a blessing. Beauty by Lady K. Welcome, greetings, beloved. I think you might have emailed me too. I responded to you. I think I did. I know it's a lot of people who are into beauty, so forgive me. But I think you emailed me recently. I think I responded to you as well. I know I responded to you as well. So I'm always grateful for those who take things seriously, who take sacred space seriously, who take growth and spiritual development seriously, who take doing their own shadow work seriously. For indeed, I'm the first to do my own homework. I'm the first to follow my own words. I'm the first to follow my own advice. If I was lying, my mama wouldn't sit here and sit through it. Okay, I'm the first. She'll tell you, I Prince question everything he do, every motion I make, every comment I say. So I've got a community of support um, to sort of keep me in check, but also to make sure that I'm standing up in the integrity that's required to do ministry, And so fear of our own shadow work cannot come into the equation. Thank you, beloved. Thank you kindly. So I wanted to share some things with you if you all don't have any particular questions, comments, or requests. Some of you may have already experienced Mystery in Motion. It is the great historic Black masking event that's happening now at the Presbyterian Museum, the Louisiana State Museum, oldest museum in the state of Louisiana, 1750, if I got the date right. Don't quote me on that until I can get it in my face. But the oldest museum here in Louisiana, and it is a event of color and beads and plumes and sequins and handcrafted artistry and symbolic and reminiscent gelede and egungun and ancestral cultural nuances, which indeed make up what Black masking culture is in New Orleans. Baby dolls, New Orleans skull and bones, New Orleans Black masking, Mardi Gras, Carnival, Indians. And so I'm just excited, as I have been all year, for this exhibit at the Presbyterian Museum. The building is, and continues to be architecturally important in the French Quarter and in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's been there since 1791. And so Mystery in Motion and African American masking and spirituality and Mardi Gras event. It will be there till the end of fall. Then they'll be going to France. Les Black Indians de la Nouvelle Orleans. Please forgive me on my French listener if my accent ain't right. At the Musée du Quai Branly Jacques Chirac in Paris, France. It'll be opening 2022. So again, that's Les Black Indians. Is that how you say that in French? Indians de la Nouvelle Orleans at Musée du Quai Branly Jacques Chirac in Paris, France, opening in 2022. So we have been doing a series of symposiums in association with this event around Mardi Gras culture, Indian culture, Black masking culture, and most recently we did an event specific to Voodoo and the Voodoo representation within the dynamics of this exhibit. So if you will, I'm going to share that unless someone has a question, a comment, or request. Otherwise, I'm going to share that and I will be forward momentarily. Always a blessing. Give me a moment here, please. It's going to have two introductions, and I'm going to do it because I want you to hear and be familiar with our beloved Alfred Duchette, who is, a retired masking Indian. He might not like the word retired, but he's up in age, but a great historian and contributor and strong representative within the local New Orleans community. And you'll see and understand more as I move forward in the video. So I'm going to start with his song, Marie Laveau, and then I'm going to go into the Voodoo and spirituality and Black masking tradition. Always a blessing.
say Mighty Friday, people, what you gonna say? Say my beautiful. I say it's Mighty Friday, people, what you gonna say? Say my beautiful. Down in New Orleans, we got a Voodoo queen, my beautiful. She's the wickedest thing you ever did see, my beautiful. You know she lives in a crib down on Basin Street, my beautiful. She's the best of all the attraction your tourists gotta see, my beautiful. But if it cross her path, don't make that girl mad, my beautiful. The girl that put something on you wish you never had, talking about my beautiful. Louisiana State, oh my Maria, 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 my beautiful. Everybody in the place, let me see your face. Say my beautiful. Everybody in the place, let me see your face. Say my beautiful. Down in New Orleans, we got a Voodoo queen, my beautiful. She's the wickedest thing you ever did see, my beautiful. You know she lives in the crib down on Basin Street, my beautiful. She's the best of all the attraction your tourists gotta see, my beautiful. But if you cross her path, don't make that girl mad, my beautiful. The girl that put something on you wish you never had, my beautiful. Oh, my Maria, my beautiful. Louisiana State, oh, my Maria, my beautiful. Louisiana State, oh, my Maria, my beautiful. Louisiana State, oh, my Maria, my beautiful. You better be ready to rumble with Maria for one time. You better be ready to stumble with Maria for 2 times. You better be ready to cry for Maria for 3 times. Better be ready to cry for Maria for 4 times. You better fool on these white folks this day. Want the bad clothes that they do that she wear. She wanna wear, and put a spell on anybody that misses that deal, misses free. Here we go, kangaroo, ran a whole house with it all out, with it all out. Everybody knows she bang bang, sticking and bang bang. Everybody looking at her down the train, but she still kept her game rolling. Everybody was smoking, choking, losing focus. Ass was blocked about to throw up. So these spells, everybody gonna blow up. My beautiful, oh my Maria, my beautiful, oh my Maria, my beautiful. Oh, my Maria, my beautiful. Oh, my Maria, my beautiful. My beautiful. Everybody in the place, let me see your face. Say my beautiful. Everybody in the place, let me see your face. Say my beautiful. Down in New Orleans, we got a Voodoo queen, my beautiful. She's the wickedest thing you ever did see, my beautiful. You know she lives in the crib down on Basin Street, my beautiful. She's the best of all the attraction your tourists gotta see, my beautiful. But if you cross her path, don't make that girl mad, my beautiful. The girl that put something on you wish you never had, my beautiful. Oh, my Maria, my beautiful. Louisiana State, oh, my Maria, my beautiful. Louisiana State, oh, my Maria, my beautiful. Louisiana say, oh, Maria, my beautiful. You better be ready to rumble with Maria for one time. You better be ready to stumble with Maria for two times. You better be ready to cry for Maria for three times. You better be ready to cry for Maria for four times. You better rule on these white folks that they want the back rules. That they know that's the way. She wanna wear, and put a spell on anybody that misses that deal, misses three. Here we go, Tangerine ran a whole house with it all out, with it all out. Everybody knows she bang bang, stick and bang bang. Everybody looking at her down the train, but she still kept her game rolling. Everybody was smoking, choking, losing focus. Ass for block about to throw up. So these bells, everybody's gonna blow up. My beautiful, oh Maria, my beautiful. Oh, Maria, my beautiful. Oh, Maria, my beautiful. Oh, Maria, my beautiful.
Good evening and welcome to this evening's program, Voodoo and Spirituality in Black Masking Traditions. I'm so thrilled to be able to be with you all here in this virtual space. As I'm sure you're familiar and aware, we initially intended to host this program in person at the Presbytere. And while I'm sorry that we can't be together, I'm grateful to each of our panelists for their flexibility and to each of you for your flexibility and still joining us tonight for what I think is going to be a really rich and wonderful discussion of some amazing traditions, important traditions in this city. A quick note that we are recording tonight, and we will send this recording to everyone who registered tomorrow, along with a brief survey that I hope you will fill out to help us continue to offer programs that are of interest. My name is Sarah Lowenberg. I am the Manager of Education here at the Louisiana State Museum. I want to thank the Friends of the Cabildo and the Louisiana State Museum for making this program possible. This evening's program is hosted in conjunction with the current exhibition, Mystery in Motion, African American Masking and Spirituality in Mardi Gras, which was co-curated by Kim Vaz DeVille, our moderator tonight, and Ron Bechet, who I think I saw on the call. A quick note to please keep yourself muted during the program. Sound travels differently in this platform, as we all know, so we may mute you at some point. It's not because we don't want to hear from you, simply the nature of the platform. Before we get started, I also want to quickly plug a couple upcoming programs. Next Thursday, August 12th, we'll hear from author Darrell Barthay Jr. on becoming an American in Creole New Orleans from 1896 to 1949. And on Thursday, September 9th, we'll hear from author Sophie White on her recent book, Voices of the Enslaved, Love, Labor, and Longing in French Louisiana. I'll send out information about both of those programs and how to sign up with tomorrow's email. A quick run of show for tonight. We're going to start with an opening clip of Big Chief Alfred Doucette, who you also just heard singing Marie Laveau. And then a song from Miss Lee, and then I'll turn it over to Kim to kick us off and introduce our panelists. We'll have a great discussion amongst each of the panelists and time for questions and answers at the end. So if you have questions along the way, feel free to use the chat and we'll aim to get questions answered. Thank you again for being here. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to our video clip of Chief Doucette.
Say they got an old time big chief Billy all the way. You said they talk about it if they kill it dry. In your rain. In your rain.
Bola bo masia inkene bo ilai sembo masia ejaliai. I'm gonna finish the song. It's a song of togetherness from Senegal, West Africa, from the Wolof people, and they sung it anytime royalty was coming to the village or anytime royalty took a space or a seat in the village. It means come together to witness and experience the wonderful kings and queens and courts and royalty of our people. Bola bo masia ninkene bo ila sembo masia ejalia tunda na di mai son tu ne na titsi mai bola bo masia ejalia.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. The exhibit, Mystery in Motion, has many different spiritual aspects that we have been able to feature. And in addition to looking at how Black maskers have incorporated from their own spirituality, either traditions from Islam, Rastafarianism, Catholicism, the Pentecostal Church, we have been blessed with being able to do a panoramic of spirituality to highlight how diverse African American spirituality in masking has become. Tonight, we are taking a deep dive into Voodoo spirituality as it manifests in New Orleans. And we're privileged to have our panelists, Kishana Jones Lee, the DivinePrince Taya Mecca, Big Chief Alfred Doucette, and Risa Cinnamon Black Bazil. And I'm Kim Vaz. I'm the co-curator of Mystery Emotion, and my co-curator, Rondé Shea, is also with us tonight. Next slide. Debates about the mythology surrounding Marie Laveau by New Orleanians seemingly uninvolved in Voodoo mark Laveau as a figure and Voodoo as a cultural artifact in the collective consciousness of the city. So when we think about Louisiana and New Orleans in particular, one of the women from our past that we often think about, no matter who we are, is a legendary spiritual woman and entrepreneur, Marie Laveau. Because Voodoo developed as a spiritual system among those least powerful in Louisiana, its origins are not well documented. While some scholars trace it back to traditional religions such as the Ewe, the Fon, the Yoruba, and Congo peoples in Africa, and see evidence of it as late as the 1700s, others caution against ascribing a direct connection. While the full history of Louisiana Voodoo awaits further research, we do know that its practice has had a significant influence in the spiritual life of New Orleans, where Voodoo was regionally distinct until the 1940s, but is now heavily influenced by the Voodoo of Haiti, where it remains a prominent religion. Voodoo beliefs and rituals are intertwined with Mardi Gras masking traditions. Since at least the 1800s, skeletons or the skull and bone gangs have been part of Black Carnival. Often dressed in Black costumes painted with white skeleton bones, The maskers act as both carnival town criers and spiritual guardians, rousing their community before dawn on Mardi Gras. Their signature warning is "You next." During such treks, Bruce Sunpai Barnes, the big chief of the North Side Skull and Bone Gang, recognizes Papa Ogu, the god of iron and warfare, and the Haitian voodoo spirit of the family of Gadig, who are the guardians of the cemeteries. Queen Kalinda Laveau, a voodoo priestess who is also in our show Mystery in Motion, brings spirit medicine to Black masking activities. Her society, the Mystic Seven Sisters, continues a traditional healing work of generations of women. They sometimes accompany the Northside Skull and Bone Gang to the tomb of the unknown slave at St. Augustine Catholic Church in the Treme neighborhood, as the gang summons and embodies the ancestors. Traversing the streets, the women provide prayers and energy for a safe day. Of course, the best known historical practitioner of New Orleans voodoo is the legendary Marie Laveau. Devout Catholic, a devotee of African spirituality and voodoo, and a community leader. In our show, we have been able to highlight Big Chief Alfred Doucette of the Flaming Arrows suit in honor of Marie Laveau, as well as a song that we have heard today. And I want to call your attention to someone who also figures prominently in my thinking about Black masking and Marie Laveau, and that's Cardell Patterson, flag boy of the Uptown Warriors. Both of these have made suits in honor of this esteemed figure. Next slide. This is Cardell Patterson, flag boy of the Uptown Warriors in Mardi Gras 2016. His suit was dedicated to Marie Laveau in Congo Square and the gatherings of Indian and Native Americans and African enslaved people and free people of color in Congo Square, observing their rights, creating culture, creating New Orleans, the sound of New Orleans, the look and feel of New Orleans in our cultural traditions. Next slide. Cardell says, to explain why we mask, Marie Laveau is an iconic connector between free people of color, the enslaved, and power. There are differences in experiences between enslaved and free people of color. And so his patches on his suit are reflecting these differences. The two in the middle are free people of color. It pays homage to the unknown enslaved ancestors. He's calling attention to the power of the enslaved to bring about the Haitian Revolution. He recalls in this suit the connection between New Orleans and Haiti, and he expresses continuities between people of color gathered in Congo Square on Sunday and African Americans who continue to rejoice on Sundays with Indian practices and second lines. So this evening, oh, and one last person. While some maskers honor the voodoo past, others infuse carnival with contemporary voodoo spirituality. The DivinePrince Taya Mecca leads the House of the DivinePrince, a voodoo spiritual church. He seeks to bring lasting healing to his tribe and community on Mardi Gras as Big Chief of the Black Hawk Voodoo Gang. He makes patches for his suit that resemble Haitian voodoo drapeau ceremonial hand sewn sequin flags. And we'll hear more from him today. It's my privilege to introduce our panelists. First is Kishana Jones Lee, a world-renowned actress, singer, educator, casting director, and arts administrator, and religious culture bearer from New Orleans. She has a BA in theater and performing arts and speech communication from Dillard University and an MA in arts administration from the University of New Orleans. She's performed plays including Broadway's Ain't Misbehavin', Shakin' the Mess Out of Misery, we need that one, and for colored girls who have considered suicide when the rainbow is enough. And she has sung with Shades of Praise, New Orleans interracial gospel choir, the New Orleans Black Chorale, and the New Orleans Opera. She's a practicing Catholic, and she has studied various African traditional religions such as Ifa and Udanini. Jones Lee has been a member of the crew of Oshun for 5 years and serves as a public relations officer. She participates as a rider in Zulu parades. and she's done that for over 20 years. And it is her artifacts that we have on display in Mystery in Motion, the exhibit. The DivinePrince is a high-profile psychic, spiritualist, advisor, practitioner, minister, and sought-after voodoo practitioner in New Orleans. He's been a resident of New Orleans for 23 years and is an actor and cultural performer in the historic Treme neighborhood. He's a longtime member and advisor to the Congo Square Preservation Society, and he's a Black masking Indian. As a former evangelical minister of music, the DivinePrince has been ministering in African traditional religious systems for more than 35 years. He has been featured on Buried Worlds with Don Wildman, Monstrum, and Atlas of Cursed Places, among other movies, TV shows, and documentaries. His suits are featured in the current exhibit, Mystery in Motion. We're blessed today to have with us Big Chief Alfred Doucette, a lifelong New Orleanian and man of many talents. He's worked as a carpenter, a race car driver, a horseman, a nightclub owner, a musician, and a Black masking Indian. In the 1970s, he and his brothers owned the nightclubs Nightcap 1 and Nightcap 2, which hosted such acts as the Meters, the Neville Brothers, Marvin Gaye, and Deacon John. As race car builders and drivers, they were the first African Americans to integrate the track at Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and they raced in Louisiana, Texas, Alabama, and Alabama. Big Chief began sewing suits as Black masking Indian in 1989. In 2001, his Marie Laveau suit depicted a graveyard scene of the Voodoo Queen. He was inspired to create the song Marie Laveau in 1998 after the revered Voodoo Queen came to him in a dream. Big Chief has performed songs from his Marie Comin' Out EP with acts such as Bambula 2000, James Andrews, Trombone Shorty, Dr. John, Cyril Neville's, Kermit Ruffins, and the Dirty Dozen Brass Band. He's performed at venues around the city and at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, the French Quarter Festival, and the Satchmo Festival. And we have two of Chief's suits in the exhibit. And I really encourage you to come and have a meditative moment with both of them. It's my pleasure to introduce Riza Cinnamon Black Bazil, who's a cultural ambassador, an entertainer, big queen in the spirit of Fayaya and Mendigo warriors, Black masking Indian tribe, a voodoo practitioner and reader at the New Orleans Historic Voodoo Museum. She's a cultural consultant for documentaries, film industry projects, and media outlets such as ESPN, Spike TV, the Travel Channel, and Fusion.net. She was also the producer of New Orleans Live, which aired on cable across channel NOAA TV. She has danced with the Nkufu Traditional African Dance Company and Casa Samba, a Brazilian dance company, both based in New Orleans. She masks as a renegade-style baby doll and has masked with the Gold Digger baby dolls and the Teiva Ernie Cato baby dolls. She has masked with family and sister groups and has founded several groups of baby dolls, including the well-known Treme $1 Million baby dolls. And so I'm welcoming all of our panelists to our conversation this evening. Next slide.
Beautiful. So first we'll hear from Big Chief Alfred Doucette. Bear with us for a quick technology moment. Emily, are you there? Can you hear us? Or we'll come back to them. There's a lot that Zoom can do and a lot that Zoom can't. I'm gonna try unmuting you.
Can you hear us?
We can hear you twice.
Hey, now.
Oh. Yeah, let me turn my phone. There.
All right, now try. We may have double muted them. Thank you all for bearing with us for just a minute. Emily, you want to try unmuting your computer? All right, well. We heard them for just one brief moment, but they'll come back. I think maybe we'll move on to our next panelist and then we'll come back. So bear with us, but we'll say it'll be a fun return. Sorry about that.
Okay, you ready? Hi, my name is Kashana Jones Lee, and I'm a culture bearer for the city of New Orleans, Louisiana, and the public relations person for Ocean. I have worked with Ocean for 5 years, and the way we do our royalty is based on the West African Orisha spirits. Here you see Miss Cinnamon Black, who is my sister. We're in the $1 Million Tree Baby Dolls. We dance together in Kafo. We've been together at the hip for almost all of my life. She's representing one of the Orishas, and the royalty in Ocean is based on the Orisha. This would be Eshu in the red, and it also represents the Egungun, which is the family, the ancestors, and that's what the people are to us on Mardi Gras Day. Our queen is known as Yemenya. Some people say Yemenja, but it's Yemenya. We have different pronunciations for the name, but the spirits know what you're trying to say. And our king, you can move to the next slide, is named Shango. Here you see me, Cinnamon Black, and a drummer. We do ritual before each performance. Our captain is Mr. Henry Smith, and the captain emeritus is Miss Ann Clark. You can move to the next slide. Ocean is the first African-American all-women's crew in the city of New Orleans, which came out of Ashanti, which was mixed. So it's an all-women's crew. We do accept men and children, but the actual club is women. These are a picture of some of our children. You'll see my 3 with the red dresses on. We call those princesses of Yemenya. The 2 on the left with the white outfit are kings and queens pages. They're usually really young, like toddlers. And just as in the African tradition, they are overseen tightly by the king and queen or the mother and father. The guys you see are named after Shango, and they are called the sons of Shango, which means that one day they will go up to be king and they will take their rightful place in their community. So they're the sons of Shango. The older girl you see in the back row, we call the daughters of Oshun. Oshun is what may be to Greek mythology and other mythology as the goddess of love. So those are the daughter of Oshun. They're up and coming debutantes. They're coming to be young ladies, and it's a sweet time in their life, which is a lot of milk and honey. So you'll see people when they talk about Oshun, which is a goddess, Orisha goddess, that she's very sweet and very motherly. Yemenya is the great mother, and she is over everything. So once a person is queen, you can move to the next slide. In Oshun, they go to Yemenya. This is an example of the Oshun court. You have the queen, and then you have the goddesses. And I'm wearing red today because for some reason, for 4 years, in my float, I have the goddess of love. We have the goddess of fun. We have the goddess of health and wealth. And we usually have 13 goddesses, which is an uneven number. So all the colors of the peacock, and we know that the peacock is represented by Oshun, who would be referred to as the goddess of love, sweetness, milk, and honey. And here we have our queen from 2 years ago because of the pandemic. Queen Joan Ann Brown was queen in 2019. You can go to the next slide. if there are any. Here are some more pictures. To the right, you'll see Captain Henry Smith. He always has a new outfit every year. He is the captain of the crew. We're very, very, very family oriented. Standing with him is my escort, and he is in line to be King of Shango when I'm queen in 2 years. And that is Mr. Adrian Lindsay. There you have our current reigning king, Mr. Cardell Stewart, who is a master professor musician in the keyboard in several instruments, retired from NORD, retired from the school system from teaching music. And then the last picture on the left, you have Queen Joan Ann Brown with the captain and the king. And the captain is masked during the coronation. You can move to the next slide, if there are any. Here's another picture of princesses. The princesses do go to workshops and learn etiquette. That's a picture of me and my twins. I'm the goddess of love, so I have on red, but they learn how to properly eat, how to be a young lady, things that you would learn in the community, period. You know, just how to act in society. And it also plays on a positive way to uplift them. They have something to look forward to. We're very family oriented. So we want them to be able to go up in the crew and be proud in the steps they take as they're growing. Next slide. Here is the altar. And this is with me telling about the different religions. I study Ifa, West African religion. I'm a practicing Christian Catholic. I'm also a minister. And we make this altar very sacred because this is the St. Joseph altar. And he is the father of who we believe in, Christ. And so things that we give, you might see us, we have a picnic, so we honor fruit and vegetation. We do that in the summertime, thanking God for giving us fruit, for constantly giving us food, for bringing us together. And this was particular at Irene's. A group of us meet there for the St. Joseph altar from the crew every year. And you'll see the fish, you'll see different breads, the same thing you see in the St. Joseph altar. And you can see it, but here I have it here. I don't know if you can see it. Our signature throw are fans. So all the goddesses, everybody cannot throw the signature throw. The goddesses will throw the signature throw, and those are fans. Again, it all comes together with New Orleans tradition, from Haitian voodoo to West African religion and culture and Christianity. We mix it all in the pot traditionally, not just commercialized, that it might mean something to the up and coming children and students that are up and coming in the crew. They pay a fee. If anybody is interested in riding, let me know. We would love to have you. We have several events throughout the year, dances and everything that the community can take a part of, and we would love to have you. I think that's it. That's the end of the slides. Yes.
Thank you very much. Next we will hear from the DivinePrince.
Am I unmuted? Can you hear me now?
Great, yes.
Greetings, greetings. Peace and blessings. I am Voodoo Chief, the DivinePrince, Black Hawk Voodoo Chief in terms of masking Mardi Gras Indian culture. I'm also an activist, an actor, cultural performer. I wear many hats. I'm truly grateful to be a part of this audience and this event. I appreciate this picture being my first demonstration. Papa Fan, Haitian Voodoo practitioner, may he rest in heaven. Of course, our beloved Marcus Akinlana, who is a Awo in the Ifa Yoruba tradition, and Voodoo priestess Ava K. Jones, who's also initiated in both Ifa and Haitian Voodoo, as well as a strong supporter of retaining and promoting authentic Louisiana and Mississippi Delta Voodoo. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak and to share. The veve that I'm wearing represents Papa Gede and a little bit of Baron Samedi. They are sort of shadow sides of each other, if you will, but they both represent the realm of the dead, the realm of the ancestors, if you will. And I teach and believe and live by the philosophy that our ancestors indeed are our first line of defense in all things. And science has now come to support that idea in that they support that ancestral memory survives in the blood, survives in the blood. So indeed, we carry these voodoo traditions with us in the bellies of these enslaved ships through the Middle Passage into the New World, and carry indeed the traditions and the spirit and the fire of voodoo with us. There are many misconceptions that benefit some people to continue to promote that somehow there was no voodoo in New Orleans or voodoo came from Haiti. But indeed, almost 100 years before the Haitian Revolution, the first ships arriving from West Africa were coming from the Bight of Benin, were coming from Togo, Benin, the Nigerian regions that contain voodoo practice, even until this day. So I want to make sure I include that in my demonstration. Can you move on to the next photo for me? This is myself and my wild man, Joshua Nyland Tanner. We are actually participating in a voodoo ceremony, a documented voodoo ceremony here at my house. Voodoo priestess Kalinda LeBeau and several other elders and leaders were with us in this ceremony. This picture is probably 3 years old, maybe 4, but I think 3 years old. I also wanted to demonstrate the incorporation, how I incorporate Black masking tradition. Egun is how I draw the line. Egungun is a Yoruba word for bone, but symbolizes the dead, symbolizes the ancestors. So some of you may be familiar with Egungun, 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 masquerades in West Africa. And indeed, our suits, and particularly my maroon suits, resemble strongly Egungun masquerade suits, Galede, which is our great mother, masquerading suits that you find in the Benin, Nigeria, Togo region. So indeed, we absolutely incorporate voodoo, Orisha, Black spiritualist practices and traditions along in our carnival demonstrations. We like to come out and chase away the devil and clear the way for other masking tribes to come out and then return home safely. Somehow we often end up with Big Chief Fayaya. So we're internally grateful for Big Chief Victor Harris and his demonstration as a role model and a mentor. Can we see our next photo? This is again myself and my wild man, Joshua Nyland Tanner. This is the year that we filmed with Big Frida for her reality TV show, Big Frida Bounces Back, Big Frida the Queen Diva. We certainly were grateful for the opportunity to not only, continue to reintroduce New Orleans tradition into the mainstream community, but also voodoo, and particularly this Black Hawk voodoo, which we demonstrate. This was Mardi Gras morning. We had it arranged where Big Frida, if many of you remember, rode with Zulu that year. And we sort of met up at her house to give people a greater idea of what carnival, Black carnival really is for us and our community. So I appreciate my opportunities to not only present our culture in entertainment. I've done American Horror Story and many other entertainment-based productions, but also the documentaries like PBS Monstrum, like the Travel Channel, like History Channel, Buried Worlds, and the other documentaries that I continue to be a part of. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to be a performer, be an entertainer, be an artist, but to also continue to carry the truth of the history and the tradition and the culture beyond just the local audience. Next, please. This is myself again on, I think this is a Super Sunday with Big Chief Big Chief Yellow Pocahontas, Mahmoud Darrell, Montana. I believe this might be the year he retired, or maybe the year after. I'm not sure quite the date. This is my Black Hawk suit. This is a suit that I built with Black Hawk in mind, Black Hawk prayer, song, ritual in mind. I literally breathed smoke and fire and energy and sprayed water and liquor and rum into this suit as a process of its creation and its building. Even though I am a former Yellow Pocahontas medicine man, Voodoo Chief, Witch Doctor, medicine man, I still maintain a flat bead style, which is typical of more uptown Indians. The downtown Indians, and particularly Yellow Pocahontas, are known for three-dimensional suits. So I try to add 3 dimensions by adding bone, mirrored glass pieces. There's a silver Native American indigenous cross, if you will, right in the middle of the medicine man. The medicine man there is a traditional symbol found among many indigenous tribes to represent the medicine, if you will. So I'm very grateful for my opportunity to work with Yellow Pocahontas and Darrell, Montana, and the energy that he breathed into me as I continue my journey in Black masculine culture. Next, please. Again, this is myself and Darrell, Montana. This is my very first year masking with Yellow Pocahontas. I was nervous. I was stressed. How do you mask with a tribe, a legendary tribe of such artistic mastery? I didn't want to be embarrassed. I certainly maintained my flat bead style, but I added a little three-dimensional elements to my mask itself, which is sort of how I constructed my crown and how I sort of pieced my suit together. But I felt I accomplished my goal. Both Sabrina and Darrell were literally brought to tears when they saw me that morning. They had never seen the suit. They had no idea what I was going to look like on Mardi Gras Day. So I take great pride in that purple suit. There's a legendary piece on the back that you can view at the Presbyterian Museum of the Queen Quet of the Gullah Geechee Nation in the Carolinas, the sea coast islands of the Carolinas, another indigenous Maroon community, if you will. So as a Maroon, I was a former Guardian of the Flame with Sharice Harrison Nelson. And then I went on to be with Yellow Pocahontas, and Darrell allowed me to maintain sort of my title and position, my energy, my individualism. So I brought my Maroon energy by giving that place to Queen Quet that year on the back of the suit. It's one of my more favored pieces. Next, please. I think it's Risa's turn. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great. Thank you.
Oh, well, good evening, everyone. And I guess I have been exposed. My real name is Risa Baziel. I am better known as AKA Madame Cinnamon Black. I'm with the tribe of Fayaya and the Mandingo Warriors. And there I'm known as Voodoo Baby Doll Queen. And as you can see in the slide that we're looking at, it looks the same as if that. I would like to give acknowledgements to my upbringing in Voodoo. I am considered a spiritualist, a Voodoo priestess of New Orleans Voodoo. I was initiated by the late Dr. Elmer Glover. I practiced under Madame Ava K. Jones, who was a very well-known, and still is, throughout the world of New Orleans. I also understood it under Miriam, Mother Miriam over in New Orleans here, and several other practitioners. I'm presently working daily at the Historical Voodoo Museum in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the heart of the French Quarters. And there I'm doing consultations, tours, making gree bags as I'm sitting here talking to you. I was putting together. And I'd like to thank you for having me on the show, Miss Sarah. This gives me an opportunity to let people know about, I guess, voodoo in New Orleans. You know, mostly a lot of people don't know that voodoo is inside the food, the music, and the drinks. So if you're sitting at home watching this program and you're eating some food or having some drinks here from New Orleans, we've already got you. You know, the voodoo is in you now. I think the first slide that we're looking at is one of our performances that are performing at the Jazz and Heritage Festival. And my tribe that I perform with is a very, very spiritual tribe. It's called Fayaya, and my chief name is Big Chief Victor Harris. I don't know if that's not on the slide, but this is what he looks like right here, and that's it. Yeah. And as you can see, masking and using a lot of voodoo inside our costume is something that we do. And we don't think about it, we just do it. It's inside our upbringing, it's inside our souls, inside our spirit. And as you can see from the slide, I'm doing a performance here with Katrina. I'm doing a blessing performance. The snake, well, a lot of people are afraid of the snake, you know. They see snakes and they say, oh, I'm gonna run. But so I ask them, have they ever been to the doctor? You know, have they ever been to a drugstore? Have they ever seen an ambulance? Because when you go to the doctor, there's two snakes. You know, that's called the Cadusa. And there's a male and female snake. The male is called Dambala, and Idawida is the female snake, and the combination of two can the healing of the world. At the drugstore, there's a snake. There's a snake on the back of the ambulance. And if you really, really want to know about it, there's a snake on the bottom. You normally have a statue of Virgin Mary, and she will have two little horns like this here on the bottom of it, which represents the foot of the snake, and it represents the healing of the earth. So I consider myself a spiritualist, a healer. I've worked with Kishana, I've worked with Big Chief Doucette that we have on the panel, I've worked with Prince Imansi. We've done rituals, performances, and it gives us great pleasure to have our exhibit at the museum, and we'd like to invite all you to come by and see it. So let's see what we have on the next slide. This slide is showing after doing a ritual and a blessing for the city of New Orleans, right before we just had a hurricane. Rituals are done here in New Orleans quite often. Our rituals are unlike no other place in the city. We do a ritual of having second lines, which happens as the first lines, which derive from the funerals. You know, the funerals are something that you do when somebody died. Here we have a ritual of feeding you. You know, we'll have altars set up, or we'll have fruit and oranges and all kinds of things that we give from the spirit. Masking in the city of New Orleans has always been something that a lot of people don't understand. They say, well, how do I do that? You're normally invited into it. You don't just put it on. You're invited into it, and you're brought into it by blood, by your families and things. So we use a lot of spirituality, and we don't even think about it. You know, as being an actress and an entertainer here, I learned that Louis Armstrong was one of the people. He would go to the graveyard and he would get the bricks, the red bricks from the cemetery, and he would rub them together. And he would collect it in a bucket till he got a bucket full of red brick dust, and he would go in the French quarters and he would sell it to everyone for 5 cents. And he would sprinkle it in front of the door to protect their families or to protect their business, to bring them money. That's always in history. Is there another slide? This is a slide here after performance working at the Historical Voodoo Museum, where I'm normally making a lot of gree bags. Gree bags is part of the New Orleans voodoo and a part of the New Orleans history and part of voodoo across the world. Most bags are held held in the hand, and women carry them on the left-hand side of the body, and men carry them on the right-hand side of the body. This one is made for love. And inside these gree bags, there's normal herbs, spices, sometimes bones, you know, or sometimes coins or certain stones that have certain energies to create a certain power. This one is for the audience. This is a blue one. And this is for good health. Good health. We're in a pandemic here in the city of New Orleans, and we need all the greenery we can get. Next slide, please. The Tomb of the Unknown Date is something that's here at the St. Augustine Church in the city of New Orleans, in the heart of the Treme. And a lot we give homage to the slaves that were here before us. They've been through a struggle, and so we try to use that within our costuming. The slide that you're looking at is after a church event at the St. Augustine, where we were doing a ritual outside. This location that you're looking at is normally visited several times throughout the year with the communities, where you'll see different types of costumes. The Indians visit here, the sisters visit here, the Catholics are here, all the Methodists, everyone is here at this location. We would like to invite you out to come and see it and to understand what it means to be able to pray, to give homage, and how important it is. Next slide, please. We do the masking, and what you're seeing here is my last year's suit. It was quite an effort to make this. This represents the sun goddess. In New Orleans and in my tribe, a lot of the spirituality is explained to you throughout the elders, and the elders, which is Big Chief Doucette, is one of our elders, and also in our tribe is Fayaya, Victor Harris, and he explained to me that this year was very important that I would see the world through my heart, through my soul, and not to use my eyes. You'll see that we use cowrie shells. Cowrie shells represent a lot in the spirituality. It represents the soul of the people. At one time, it was considered a fertility shell. It was also used for money. Today, we use these shells in our costume, in our design, to represent the spirits of our ancestors, because we are doing a reenactment of our ancestors. When we put these masking costumes on, we are not just having fun. It's very serious, it's very spiritual, and we spend a lot of time within prayer when we make those decisions. Is there a next slide?
That's those are your images. So we're gonna try and one more time to hear from Big Chief Alfred Doucette. So Emily, if you are on the call, we'll see if we can succeed this time. I'm gonna ask you to unmute. Thank you all for bearing with us. Where'd she go?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm glad. How you doing?
It's great to, I'm gonna spotlight y'all. We don't have a video, but that's okay. No, I can't spotlight. It's great to hear from you, Chief. Can you see the images?
Yeah, I see the pictures.
Okay, great. If you'll introduce yourself. Yeah.
I'm Big Chief Alfred Doucette, Mardi Gras Indian Chief down here in New Orleans. That's the picture of Prince of Peace. Yeah, that's the Prince of Peace. I built that Indian suit with the idea in mind, maybe that would help to stop some of the violence we have on the street. People respect Mardi Gras Indian chiefs. I had brought this type of Indian suit to the street to try and maybe make a difference in what's happening in my town.
Beautiful.
Well, you know,
I had like 4 different artists to try to draw this circle for me. And an old lady said, just use the clock system. And I told her to build, and Bill drew it. And I was able to sew it. A lot of stuff I do myself. Some of the stuff you got to have other people to do for you. And it's good to share. It's good to grow somebody in the culture. A lot of people disagree with me on some of the stuff that I do. But I'm 80 years old, and my life has been great. And my dad and my friends around me always shared, and he told me to share. That's what I've been doing since I've been able to do stuff. And this particular Indian suit, I had a lot of recognition. I got a lot of kumbas. A lot of people felt to their knees when they saw me in this Indian suit. Give me this next slide. That's the clock system. When he told me about the clock system, I came and drew it up, and I brought that to the artist, and he did it for me. This is strange fruit. I had a dream about a lynching, and I was driving from AutoZone, and I saw some people with some feathers, and I asked them, I said, y'all getting ready for Sunday? Said, yeah, we got a second line. And he said, are you sewing? I said, had a dream about a lynching. And the old lady says, you need to listen to Strange Fruit, Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit. So I went by one of the baby dolls, Marlene Campbell, and pulled it up on the computer. And when I heard the song, this is the suit I come up with. I like my suit to tell a story about the past. Keep it on people's mind, because like we got a lot of differences in this world today, and we can't go back to where this was. We can't go back to change. We can't go back to people in the woods. We can't go back to being. We can't go back to being in chains. And today we got a different kind of slavery than we had then. We have handcuffs and shackles, and people that's falling into that bag every day. Young people that's just being wasted. Well, I'm trying to explain, what's happening with these young people today. Like we need more teachers. We need more people handing up on these young people, letting them know that a lot of people die with chains on them for them to be free. My chess piece you're looking at. You're looking at the slave ship, the auctioneer, the 2 policemen, and all the black people in chains. They're naked. They brought them from Africa. And they promised them wealth and fortune and riches and to bring back to Africa, and they put them in chains and taught them how to grow the crop for them to make their riches. So my suits tell stories. And I try to bring it to the street that way so people can recognize that we don't need to go back to this. We need to go forward. My real boat. Go to the next picture. This Indian suit, my real boat. My real boat came to me 3 nights in a row. I was asleep. In a good sleep. And gave me the words. Now, I'm a carpenter. I'm a lot of things. I got 15 different trades that I can do, that I have done in my time. But I wanted to be a singer. And I never did do no singing. I had all kinds of opportunities to be a singer, but never was. But Marie came into my dreams and woke me up. And 3 nights in a row, I was singing this song in my sleep. And the 4th day, I had the whole song in my head that you heard earlier. Marie wants to be heard, that's what I said. Cause I got 9 songs. All of songs come to me in threes. All the power that I have with my music comes in threes. She wants to be heard. I don't know if she's using me, my song, my music. Give me this music to sing so she can be heard. But she dreamed, really talk to me only in my dreams. I don't get mad with nobody. She said, I got your back. And she do. I live a decent life. I live a happy life. A lot of people love me. I'm a comfortable man for 80 years old. And I'm healthy. I do what I want to do. And I think the spirit that I believe in. A lot of people don't believe in the spirit, but you gotta have the spirit in your body. And without the spirit, you can't live. You have another slide? Right here, this is a crown piece I'm making. I'm sitting down there sewing, trying to represent New Orleans. I wrote all about New Orleans on this headpiece. That's the headpiece from Marie Laveau. Go to another slide. That's the end of mine.
There was a question for you though, Chief. If you could comment on the list of the positive and negative lists on your arms in the first suit.
My roosters. 5 in the morning when the rooster crow. 5. Oh. The comments on my arm. Oh.
Yeah, on the lists on your arms.
I can't read them. I can't see them. No, I can't, and I don't remember that, and I really can't see them.
Okay, one is positives. It looks like it says things like love, pray, work, morals, and the other arm has things like thou shalt not, live without the spirit, hate, kill. So one is thou shall and one is thou shalt not, it looks like.
Right. Well, I remember one statement that I made for young people: don't be a buffoon. But a friend of mine, a girlfriend of mine, wrote those words for me, and I told her, I said, don't be a buffoon, and she wrote buffoon. But what I meant was, the society had young people making babies to get money, and that was altogether wrong. Look what we got today. We got a bunch of young people with young people, and when I was coming up, I had some of everybody to try to teach me something. If I didn't pay attention, I got a spanking. But you can't do that anymore. And like these babies making babies, acting like a buffoon. I was trying to tell them stop. But I can't see the other write-up, so I had on there.
Thank you very much. I think I'll turn it back over and a comment saying thank you for answering the question. I'll
Okay.
turn it to you, Kim, and we'll move into discussion.
Okay. So one of the things right before we move into discussion, I'm hoping that you all can think about how voodoo has been co-opted and commercialized by New Orleans as business. Can you go to, so there are businesses in New Orleans that use voodoo to sell music, to sell Dixie beer, to sell Abita beer, to sell Zappos potato chips. What are your thoughts about how voodoo is just used, outside of its religious context, especially for the commodification and profits of people who don't live in our community?
Who's going to say?
Cinnamon, can't hear you, Cinnamon.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I remember back when Dixie Beer tried to sell their beer, and it was like really prohibited. People all across the country, according to history, were scared to buy the beer. But today the understanding of voodoo is much more clearer. I feel in a way that is kind of good, but then there's this part inside my soul that says, well, maybe they shouldn't be doing that because they're misleading people. They're making them think if they eat the chips, they're gonna, win the lottery or something like that nature. So I kind of feel like it's okay, but then there's one part of me that says, no, it's not.
I was the cassette consultant for CW Networks, the originals, which was placed in New Orleans. And I used to translate the Haitian Creole and voodoo rituals, and I got Emmys for them. I got 2 Emmys for my scenes. I think that there's a time and a place for everything. And the ancestors do not like mockery. Right. You will be punished for it. They don't like it. It's not tolerated. They understand innocence. Like people are ignorant, so it's a certain innocence to it. But not if you market chips or a festival or a drink and you think you're gonna get all this power. If you study to show yourself approved, like in the Bible and in Haitian texts and in voodoo texts, then you will understand it's not what you think. Nobody is eating the head of children and all this other stuff, and there's no blood sacrifice on your door, and how they deface Marie Laveau's grave, and it's going to get you these superpowers. And people, after watching those episodes, I use the original, appreciated the religion more. They understood that it wasn't scary and it's not what they thought it was. And it was very similar to Catholicism, because when we came here, we had to hide our religion in Catholicism to be able to live everyday life in peace. I think that it's time to have a serious conversation about why are you using the name and these antics to market and sell your goods? And are you benefiting the community, or are you making a mockery out of religion? And I know priest Divine, I know he has some thoughts on this.
I do. As an actor, professional actor, SAG card-carrying actor, and cultural performer, and a musician, that was my first love, was the piano and music. I draw a very thin line but stable line between entertainment and religion, ethno-cultural religious tradition. I also want to bring awareness to the fact that often the actors and performers are being exploited, in some of these performances, whether they be for music video, television shows, movies, TV commercials, etc. I'm a great example. I did a commercial for Vita Beer. They went on to cartoonize my image, turn that image into a white man, and then put it on their Purple Haze beer. And of course, I don't get not a penny, for the representation. So we have to be more in control of our representation. Kishana is kind of behind the scenes. She has some opportunities to affect that. I'm often reached out to be a consultant about movies, TV shows, etc., specific to voodoo and ATR, ritual. It has not always gone so well. I've had to walk away on some occasions. I've been asked to walk away in other occasions because I, just wouldn't flex on the bastardizing, of our tradition. There's a degree of assimilation, synchronizing that has happened over the years by force, but by condition. I like to remind people that south of the border, There was a relationship between the Catholic Church and those enslaved communities to allow them to accept all the tenets of Catholicism, but we'll let you do your voodoo on your downtime. And that's why Candomblé looks so organized in Brazil. That's why Lucumi looks so organized in Cuba. And what we do here still continues to be bastardized. So I have a problem with the bastardization, that somehow we're not connected to the root. Somehow there's no real voodoo tradition here, and it's all just, hoodoo and trickery. I think Cody Roberts has a book, I can't remember the name of the book right now, that even speaks to Marie Laveau. And some people might feel that she even introduced a degree of her and Dr. John Montanet and others of that time period introduced a degree of performance element to the culture. So yes, we perform, we drum, we do it in Congo Square, we do it at our theaters around town, and we do it for everyone. We do it for the community. But I think it's too easy, especially today with the internet, for the young people to assume that they're seeing real authentic ritual and practice. So they believe they're learning what voodoo is when they watch American Horror Story. They believe they're learning what voodoo is when they watch the originals. And then I often have to dispel those witchcraft, magical ideas, and lead them back to something that's more rooted and grounded in tradition. Along with us being forced to go underground, because we could have been beheaded, mutilated, killed for reading, for gathering, for drumming, for doing anything like that, in the Deep South, save for Congo Square, of course. But even in that space, we were limited as to how much of our sacred tradition we could do out loud and out in the public. So it was a meeting place for many ethnic groups. I've done a great deal of extensive study, and I'm appreciative of the Whitney Plantation for their archives about who was here, what ethnic groups were here, what families were brought from the Bight of Benin here to establish voodoo long before the Haitian Revolution. I say, and I'm going to pass the mic, if we could count in Fon, if we could count in Airway, we were only now being forced to learn how to count in English, Spanish, French, Portuguese. And if we can remember how to count, then certainly we can remember our drum patterns, our dance rhythms, our ritual days, our ritual cycles. So we didn't forget our voodoo. We were just forced to take it underground. And that voodoo is in every so-called American religion. And this, what I'm about to say is a little controversial, but I offer that there would be no Christianity in America if it had not been for the spirituality and the fire of the enslaved Africans. It's in the shout, it's in the dance, it's in the music, it's in the foot washing, it's in
everything.
It's in the circle dance,
They took everything. They took everything.
It's in everything.
It's in
But I think
everything.
So it's here.
Kim,
We
I
didn't
have a
lose it.
question or a comment.
Who's this?
Greta Vidal.
Oh, okay. Hi, Greta, go ahead.
Hi. Thanks for both your comments. I attended voodoo parties for the spirits in the Northeast, Montreal, Boston, primarily New York, places like that, where most of the community was immigrants for a bunch of years. And when I first came to New Orleans 6 years ago, I thought, oh my gosh, voodoo potato chips? We don't have these up north. I'm really curious about this identity of New Orleans as a voodoo city, even just through consumption. Prince Ty, I have been wondering who that face on a Beta beer was. It's you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The
Does it, what my question is, I guess, does it kind of normalize things in some way? For example, when I was in Boston, we invited a mambo, Maud Marie, to give a talk at Harvard Divinity School. And it was the first time that I know of that someone had done a voodoo party for the spirits there. It was a big deal, but it was behind closed doors. And I come here to New Orleans and people are doing it in a park, in along a bayou, in the lobby of a hotel. So there's some way in which the city accepts Voodoo community in a way that other cities in the US and Canada and the Caribbean, where most of the communities are descendants of more recent immigrants, doesn't. And I don't know what that has to do with the commercialization. I'm also curious how Voodoo beer and everything here intersects with, many of us might have a t-shirt or a bookmark with the Virgin of Guadalupe, right? That Mexican Virgin has been so commercialized.
I want to
Frida
throw it back.
Kahlo's images. Yeah, tell me.
I'm just going to throw it back to our panelists. I think you have a great question about the commercialization and the popularization of these questions. We're going to have time for questions in just a few minutes, but I want to give them a chance to wrap it up before we come back to it. So thank you for the question. I'm going to throw it back.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I absolutely see the dichotomy. I do accept what Kishana said and what Cinnamon Black said to some degree, that it has become more popularized. We can do quote unquote Ifa, Akan, Voodoo, Sangoma practice sort of out in the open now. But again, my concern continues to be with the availability of books and botanicas, particularly because botanicas often are selling these products that have a label, that have a copyright on it, that's got a brand on it. But there's not a whole lot of teaching and instruction about the tradition going on. So again, you have a younger and a less educated community that thinks that the voodoo is in this candle or it's in this deck of tarot cards, without really understanding what Odu is, what Fa, Afa, Ifa is, how we consult divination in the tradition. And so that's my concern.
Yes, Cinnamon.
My concern about the products is the fact the festivals, the voodoo festivals, the voodoo beer and the advertisement, they are not, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, my concern is that they're not actually hiring the artists or the people who are actually know about voodoo, so they'll know the proper things to do and the things that you shouldn't do. They're hiring imitators, people who know nothing about voodoo, and they're having them perform.
Oh, she just got muted.
Unmute, Cinnamon.
I don't know how you got muted.
Unmute, Cinnamon.
She's good. Go ahead.
I think it's something that should be considered. If they're going to have a voodoo festival, then they should come and talk to the voodoo community or get someone from the voodoo community to even bless them for even trying to use something like that, or even the advertisements or things of that nature. The voodoo potato chips and things. But if they're going to use that, then they should use someone in the voodoo to make sure that they're doing the right things. I think that's something that should be considered and something that should be done.
Okay. All right. Well, we have questions coming in. Thank you. We could talk about this, and we need to talk about this. We need to think about the way that these names are just being, like the way voodoo is not treated on par with Christianity. We wouldn't have Jesus chips. People would be in an uproar if we had something like that.
Right.
Should this be added to the name changing going on with the Confederate monuments in the school street?
Yes, it should.
I think this notion of voodoo, which is so sacred, needs to be added to our list of eradicating white supremacy in our symbols.
And where does
we should be respected in why it's being done. They should come to us and ask us questions. Don't just do it.
Right.
When you look at football teams, the Redskins, other teams, there's certainly a move in the nation to sort of normalize doing the right thing as it relates to ethnic groups and ethno-cultural practices and traditions.
Right.
So I'm in agreement. Some of that needs to be pulled way back.
Yes.
All right. We're going to turn to our questions. We've got a few coming in. Sarah, do you want to read?
We've got some great questions coming in through the chat, so thank you to everyone participating. First question was, do any of you facilitate voodoo classes for Black people that want to reconnect with their traditions, especially outside of New Orleans, but curious about within New Orleans as well.
Yes, I most certainly do. Now, I will say politically, I tend to be politically correct. I'm uncomfortable with the word classes. So no, I don't just teach classes, meaning anybody from anywhere in the world can't come and
Take a
and
class.
yeah,
Yes.
no.
Right.
I'm serious about commitment, if you will, initiation, if you will. Even in going into the church, you take the right hand of fellowship, which is a commitment, going into the church. So I honor, and respect initiation, the sanctity of bringing people into our culture. And again, in this modern context, with all the competing entertainment-based energy online about voodoo, love spells, help me, get my mojo back so I can hit the lotto. I feel like I have an obligation to educate that this is as Kim was suggesting, this is religion. This is ethno-cultural sacred faith that needs to be respected. It's not just, quick magic. I'm not even comfortable with the idea of quote unquote folk magic. We are in,
Right.
again, it seeks to cut us off from our Akan roots, from our Fan roots, from our Ewe roots, from our Yoruba roots, from our Igbo roots. And once upon a time, even in our community, we generalized. I remember in the 70s, it was all about Swahili. But how many of us really had DNA from those ethnic groups?
Right.
And so I believe the usage of modern DNA has helped to move the conversation forward in terms of us getting that much more specific about who we are. And that's why I appreciate Whitney Plantation's archive of slaves and their ethnic origins, because that again ties us back to this practice, this cultural practice.
Yeah,
Sarah?
I agree with.
Oh, Cinnamon, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, I'm simply agreeing with what he says.
Okay, good. I didn't want to cut you off. This is actually a question for Ms. Lee, which she may be stepping away, but I think this applies to others as well. This person asked, why do you choose to practice the Catholic faith with the knowledge that Christianity, as you said, took everything from indigenous faith practices like voodoo? How does it enhance your spirituality to do so? And I think also if others want to add in, I know, for example, Chief Doucette have talked about your suits that represent both Christianity and voodoo, but I'll kick it first to Miss Lee if you're there. And you're muted, just so you know.
Okay, what was the question again? I had a hiccup. I went out for a minute. What was the question?
Sorry, the question was, why do you choose to practice the Catholic faith with the knowledge that Christianity took everything from the indigenous faith practices like voodoo, and how does it enhance your spirituality to do so?
Okay, I not only practice Catholicism, I also practice Judaism because it is my ancestral walk, because I have done my DNA. And so I'm on the walk of the ancestors. And when I did my genetics, my family are Igbo Jews from Nigeria. They are Africans who are Jewish, which was the lost original tribe of Jan. So I observe all the Jewish holidays. My ancestors also were Catholic, and they hid Haitian voodoo, and they hid the candomblé. And we have documents of this in Catholicism. So when I'm practicing it, I'm practicing my faith in voodoo also. So I practice both. It's specific to my calling. I come from a long line of healers, and it's specific to the walk I have to walk on this earth. And it goes back to the classes. I wouldn't just have a general class. I would educate people on the right and the wrong of general and traditional aspects of the diaspora. But it depends on your personal walk and your purpose for being. And so that's why I practice Catholicism. That's why I observe Odanini, which is an Igbo religion like Ifa, and Voodoo, because it is the walk of my ancestors. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just want to throw it out there, Chief Doucette, if you have anything you'd like to add about how you use both Christianity and voodoo in your suits and in your practice. And you are muted. See if we can get you unmuted.
Well, you know, one thing I would like to say about the voodoo that I know about with Marie Laveau is the desecration of her tomb site. You know, people go to her tomb site and they mark, they put X's and all that on her tomb site. You want to go talk to Marie, bring a bottle of water. There's a 3 on the ground. And you turn the bottle upside down and put it on the 3 and talk to her. And when the water's out, you go about your business. If she's gonna bless you, she's gonna bless you. But don't go there. Don't go there with a marker or paintbrush. You don't need that. You know, that's not how you get to talk to Marie. And that's how I've been talking to Marie. I've been there a few times. Talk to Marie. That's what I know about Marie.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
And
Another-
just a note, Marie Laveau is my ancestors and Cinnamon's ancestor. We have a birthday party for her at her house on St. Anne every year. And she does not like that desecrating the graves. It's the abomination of it.
Right. That's just a tomb site. She's just moved, you know.
Right.
That's our spirit is there.
Right.
It don't need to be desecrated.
Right.
Chief, could you tell us the story of that suit? It's not just, you know, Marie Laveau's tomb, but it's also your men from your tribe.
Well, Mardi Gras morning when the rooster crow, I send my spy to go get my queen, Marie Laveau. I got a wild spy in the flag on my apron. We start out from my house on Mardi Gras Day, and we go through the neighborhoods looking for all the Indians to play. And we wander all around this whole town in Indian suits, just acting a clown. You know, we have a lot of fun on Mardi Gras Day, and my thanks to Marie, she allowed me to go out and play with the guys that I never knew, I never would have met probably in life if it wouldn't have met for Indian suit. Life has been good for me in the Indian suit. Life has been great for me since I met Marie Laveau. I don't know a whole lot about Marie Laveau's spirit, but I know a lot of people worship her. And she's a good spirit to me, and she's my guardian angel. Anytime I have a problem, I call her Marie. I don't get mad with nobody. I don't hate on nobody. She handles all my business. That's what I know about Marie Laveau.
Okay. Cinnamon, I think you had something planned. We have to begin to wrap up. I think you had something planned for our closing.
Well, basically in closing, I want to thank you guys for having us here on your panel and able to express how we feel about the voodoo and the products, how we express the voodoo in our clothing, how we live voodoo in the city. You know, it's in plain sight, actually. A lot of times people just don't see it. As I said before previously, it's in the food, the music, and the drinks. And I basically want to just leave you with a healing scenario, because I knew that healing comes from within the heart, within the spirit, within the soul. And because of our expressions, people are able to see our wonderful costumes. We're able to see the spirits and all the hard work that we do. And this hard work comes from the hard work of our ancestors who were forced to practice Catholicism by their slave owners, because we used to run from that Red Cross. You know, now today we do something a little bit different. We run to the Red Cross. So before in closing, I wanted to go ahead and light this candle so that I'll be able to light the hearts and the spirits of those who are watching this program. And that you will remember the things that you heard here today and the things that you've seen, and to know that spirit lives only once and it lives behind. So I want to close with Katrina, because she's, you know, she is a healing spirit. The snake is something that represents healing, the life of voodoo in the city of New Orleans.
Right on, Senator.
Many blessings to those. May you expect voodoo to be real, because we are real in what we do and what we hear and what we see. Thanks, Big Chief Doucette. Thanks, Kishana. Thanks, Prince Imansi, for expressing your thoughts. And thank you, those who are watching our show. Come and see me. I'm here at the Historical Voodoo Museum. Maybe I can answer another question for you.
The DivinePrince will lead us out. Oh, we can't hear you.
Which, you talk? Huh?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
My apologies. I thought I would end with a short song, but more about the history. I wanted to talk about Iko Iko. Iko Iko is a much covered New Orleans song that tells of a parade collision between two tribes of Mardi Gras Indians and the traditional confrontation. The song, under the original Giacomo, was written and released in 1953 as a single by James Sugar Boy Crawford and his Cane Cutters, but it failed to make the charts. The song first became popular in 1965 by girl group the Dixie Cups, who scored an international hit with Iko Iko. In 1967, as part of a lawsuit settlement between Crawford and the Dixie Cups, the trio were given part songwriting credit for the song. In 1972, Dr. John had a minor hit with his version of Iko Iko. The most successful charting version in the UK was recorded by the Scottish singer Natasha England, who took her 1982 version into the top 10. Iko Iko became an international hit again twice more, the first being the Bell Stars in June 1982, and again with Captain Jack in 2001. The song was originally recorded by and released as a single in November 1953 by James Crawford as Sugar Boy and his Cane Cutters on Checker Records, Checker 787. The single features Dave Lasky and tenor saxophone. Crawford's version of the song did not make the charts, however. The story tells of a spy boy, my spy boy and your spy boy sitting by the fire. The song tells of spy boys encountering each other on Mardi Gras Day, or one spy boy encountering another spy boy, representing two encountering tribes, if you will. He threatens to set the flag on fire. Crawford set phrases chanted by Mardi Gras Indians to music with song. Crawford himself states that he had no idea what the words mean and that he originally sang the phrase Giacomo, but the title was misheard by Chess Records and Checker Records president Leon Chess, who misspelled it as Giacomo for the record's release. James Crawford gave a 2002 interview with Offbeat magazine discussing the song's meaning. And the interviewer asked, how did you construct Giacomo? Crawford says, it came from two Indian chants and I put music to Iko Iko. It was like a victory chant that the Indians would shout. Giacomo was a chant that was called when the Indians went into battle. I just put them together and made a song of them. Really, it was just like Lordy Miss Claudie. That was a phrase everybody in New Orleans used. Lloyd Price just added music to it and it became a hit. I was just trying to write a catchy song, he says. The interviewer says, listeners wonder what Giacomo means. Some music scholars says it translates into Mardi Gras Indian lingo, such as kiss my ass. And I've read where some think Giacomo was a court jester. What does it mean, the interviewer asks? Crawford says, I really don't know. And he just kind of laughs. Now, the Dixie Cups version was a result of an unplanned jam in the New York City recording studio, where they began an impromptu version of Iko Iko, accompanying themselves with drumsticks on an aluminum chair, a studio ashtray, and a Coke bottle. After their producers cleaned up the track and added the background voices, bass, and drums to the song, the single was released in March 1965. The Dixie Cups scored an international hit with the single Iko Iko in May of 1965 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart, with their version peaked at number 20 and spent 10 weeks on the top 100. The song also charted at number 23 on the UK singles chart and peaked at number 20 on the R&B chart. In Canada, Iko Iko reached number 26 on the RPM chart. It was the third single taken from their debut album, Chapel of Love, issued on Redbird Records, August 1964. The Dixie Cups had learned Iko Iko from hearing the Hawkins singer's grandmother sing it, but they knew little about the origin of the song. So the original authorship credit went to the members, Barbara Ann Hawkins, her sister Rosalie Hawkins, and their cousin Joanne Marie Johnson. The Dixie Cups version was later included on the soundtrack to the 1987 film The Big Easy. This same version was also used on the soundtrack of 2005 film The Skeleton Key, another very controversial movie that only feeds many of the misconceptions and ignorance that many people have about voodoo, hoodoo, root work, and indeed conjure. In 2009, a version based on the Dixie Cups was used in the ad for Lipton Rainforest Alliance iced tea. So legal battles ensued. After the Dixie Cups version of Iko Iko was a hit in 1965, they and their record label, Redbird Records, were sued by James Crawford, who claims that Iko Iko was the same as his composition, Giacomo. Although the Dixie Cups denied that their two compositions were similar, the lawsuit resulted in a settlement in 1967, with Crawford making no claim to authorship or ownership of Iko Iko, but being credited 25% for public performances, such as on radio, of Iko Iko in the United States. A comparison of the two recordings demonstrates the shared lyric and melody between the two songs. Though the arrangements are different in tempo, instrumentation, and harmony, Crawford's rationale for the settlement was motivated by years of legal battles with no royalties. In the end, he stated, "I don't even know if I really am getting my just dues. I just figure 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing." In the 1990s, the Dixie Cups became aware that another group of people were claiming authorship of Iko Iko. The ex-manager Joe Jones and his family filed a copyright registration in 1991, alleging that they wrote the song in 1963. Joe Jones successfully licensed Iko Iko outside of North America, and the Dixie Cups filed a lawsuit against Joe Jones. The trial took place in New Orleans, and the Dixie Cups were represented by well-known music attorney Orrin Warshawski before senior federal judge Peter Beer. The jury returned a unanimous verdict on March 6, 2002, affirming that the Dixie Cups were the only writers of Iko Iko and granting them more money than they were seeking. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the jury verdict and sanctioned Joe Jones. New Orleans singer and pianist Dr. John covered Iko Iko in 1972 for his fifth studio album, Dr. John's Gumbo, released as a single in March 1972 on Atco Records. His version of the song charted at number 71 on the Billboard Hit 100 chart. It was produced by Jerry Wexler and Harold Batiste. The Iko Iko story is told by Dr. John in the linear notes to his 1972 album, Dr. John's Gumbo, in which he covers New Orleans R&B classic. The song was written and recorded back in the early 1950s by a New Orleans singer named James Crawford, he wrote, who worked under the name of Sugar Boy and the Cane Cutters. It was recorded in 1960 by the Dixie Cups for Jerry Lieber and Mike Stroll's Redbird Records, but the format we are following here is Sugar Boy's original. I'm going to skip ahead to what I think is more important with the time that we have remaining, and that is its linguistic origins. Linguistics and historians have proposed a variety of origins for the seemingly nonsensical chorus, suggesting that the words may come from a melange of cultures. An interpretation in Louisiana Creole French is ane aku andie, chakamo fino wanane, chakamo finane. Translation, hey now, listen at the back. All our love made our king be born. All our love made it happen. But linguistics, Geoffrey D. Kimball derives the lyrics of the song in part from Mobilian jargon, an extinct American Indian tribe or trade language, consistent mostly of Choctaw and Chickasaw words, and once used by Southeastern American Indians, Blacks, and European settlers and their descendants in the Gulf Coast region. In Mobilian jargon, Giacomo Fina, interpreted as Giacomo Fino, was commonly used phrase meaning very good. Another possible translation interprets the third and fourth lines as Giacomo Fina Dandie, Giacomo Finanier. Chickasaw word Giacomo, it's good, and Fina, meaning very. Creole and Dandier, from French Creole, endandier, at the back, and the Creole année and the French année, meaning year. It's very good at the rear. It's a very good year. In 2009 offbeat article, the Ghanaian socialist linguist Evershed Amuzu said the chorus was definitely West African, reflecting the tonal patterns of the region. He notes that the phrase ayeko, aiko, aiko, often doubled as aiko or ayeko, is a popular chant meaning well done or congratulations among the Akan and the Ewe people in modern Togo, Ghana, and Benin. Both groups were frequently taken in the slave trade, although often through Haiti to Louisiana. Ewe, in particular, are credited with bringing West African cultural influence of Voodooan rites to Haiti and to New Orleans. Musicologist Ned Sublittle has backed the idea that the chorus might have roots in Haitian slave culture, considering that the rhythms of Mardi Gras Indians are nearly indistinguishable from the Haitian kata rhythm. Yakimo, he has also noted, was a common name among the Taino inhabitants of Haiti in the early years of the slave trade. Giacomo Finaye is also, whether coincidentally or not, the phrase, the black cat is here, in the language of the Bambara people, a West African Manding language. And according to the Whitney Plantation Archives, a largest portion of the enslaved brought here came from the particular Bambara group. In the 1991 lecture in the New Orleans Social Science Historian Association, Sybil Kine proposed the following translation from Yoruba and Creole: code language, God is watching, Jacquemin causes it, we will be emancipated, Jacquemin urges it, we will wait. So Louisiana practitioners would recognize many aspects of the song as having elements about spirit possession. The practitioner, the horse, waves a flag representing a certain god, called that god into him or herself. Setting a flag on fire, of course, would be considered a curse or a negative act. The man in green who either changes personality or whose appearance is deceiving would be recognized in Voodoo as possessed by a peaceful Rada spirit, inclined to green clothing and love magic. Or
Excuse me. We've got to wrap up. Is there somewhere that we could go to see that? Is that somewhere?
Wikipedia. There are several versions to this, so make sure you put in Iko lyrics Wikipedia.
Thank you. We have one last question, and people are wanting to know how you all feel about non-African descended people practicing New Orleans Voodoo.
I don't think so. No, I don't agree with that.
No.
I think it depends. And I'm gonna let the Divine Prince finish out. But I think it depends on what their journey is. So I would have to know what the person's journey is. But just to do it, just to be doing it, no. But it might be some kind of able or something where they want them to do a certain stuff to amend. Maybe they were a slave master and they have to learn to bow down. People have personal journeys and things that they need to learn on their walk in life. So that's the only way I would look at it. But just to say I'm going to practice it, and you haven't been initiated into anything, no.
Yeah, I agree. One, as a minister and a spiritual practitioner, it is not my call to step into people's destiny. So as a reader and a practitioner, I have to read a person's destiny authentically and accurately as they approach me. But just like my attitude about classes, if you talk about training, initiating, coming into the practice of tradition, in this politically correct climate, I'm going to offer you to gather your DNA, to pull your ancestry.com, to pull your 23andMe. Who are you really? And as Kishana said, you know, it could be your ancestors coming through to make amends. I also think that we have overgeneralized the idea of race. And when we start looking at DNA, you start finding out who really got Western European ancestry, who really has, you know, African ancestry. Often, in my experience, the client will usually make the right, respectable choice as to what they're then going to pursue as it relates to coming into the practice and the tradition.
And I would have to agree with that as well.
I say no, no.
No. No.
Okay.
I say no, no. I said no, no. No, no. No, no. In order to come into the religion is as if I would open up a Chinese restaurant and say that I am a Chinese and I'm selling Chinese food. I mean, I could be married to a Chinese and have been living together and have Chinese children, but at the end of the day, I'm still going to be an African American. So if you want to practice something that's really traditional African American, you have to really find out, as they said, what your journey is, why you want to find this, what is God guiding you in this direction. But you truly cannot call yourself an African American or African American religion if you're not truly African American.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time, your energy, your blessings, your songs, to helping us understand how Voodoo is having a manifestation on Mardi Gras Day, and you all are all doing that and keeping Marie alive, keeping our ancestors alive. And we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I am DivinePrince at houseofthedivineprince.com to respond to the chat.
I want to thank you too.
Thank you all so much for a beautiful program, for all of your insight, and to everyone in the chat for your comments and questions as well. There will be more programs coming in the future in connection with Mystery in Motion, so please keep an eye on the website and our newsletter. And please come see Mystery in Motion before it closes this November. Thank you to Kim, to Cinnamon Black, to Big Chief Alfred Doucette, to the Divine Prince Ty Emeka, Anna Jones Lee. Thank you all for a beautiful day. And have a good night.
Night. Good night.
Good night. Good night. Katrina says good night.
Bravo.
Good night, Katrina.
Hey, Trina, that's my baby.
Yeah, your baby says good night. Good night, everyone.
Bravo.
Good night, Prince.